And let me introduce you to today's guest, not only a great person, but a great friend as well. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She's an award-winning real estate agent with Royal LePage Team Realty, CEO of Laverty Designs Jersey Dress, founder of Ed Laverty Sports Fund, and a national anthem singer at many sports events. Tammy Laverty Hall joins me on the show today. How are you?
Hello, Derick. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. So nice to
Wow.
see you.
What an introduction. Could you just say it all over again? God, I can't hear that enough.
You wear many hats, my friend.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Oh, it's so good to see you too. We don't see each other enough, even on video conferencing, we see each other on social media. So this is a lot more personal, that doesn't take the place of seeing each other in person, but this is so nice to see you.
Agreed, 100%. Well, before I get into, your story and talking a little bit about your history, how are you guys dealing with the pandemic? How have you guys been?
Yeah, we've been hanging in okay. I think we're fortunate enough that we're all together under the same roof. So as obviously I lost my father in 2017, and my life changed drastically then. So my husband and I bought my family home 2 years ago. Lots of
Oh, really?
we did,
Oh,
yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah, and so that was obviously a big emotional decision to take that on. A lot of history, a lot of great memories here, but also a difficult one given all the history there. So, but we decided to do it. We were able to refinance, give some rightful equity back where it belonged to my mom and my brother, and so the house we've been in for 30 years, we're all together. So my mom's got the lower level, my brother's upstairs in the two-bedroom apartment, and then it's me and my husband.
Oh, that's so cool. That's like the old days, right? When
It's
different
so big.
generations used to,
That's
live together.
the touch football logo still on the front. I think we drove each other nuts while we were at tears being sad. And other ones like, are you really that messy? Oh my God. So it's been quite a journey, but and we had some really tough days adjusting for sure. Just emotionally, socially, physically, learning each other's boundaries. But now we're dealing with something this scary and unpredictable as COVID and a pandemic, you really value being able to be together. People
Yeah.
being alone right now, it's tough. And so we all have our space, but we can all watch out for each other. So that's been kind of nice.
Well, I follow you on social media, and so I've seen some of your very energetic videos that you're putting up, and obviously, so you've kept in very good spirits. But as you said, there are always difficult times, within this, and I can imagine, so personally difficult times. But tell me a little bit about professionally. I mean, being a real estate agent, you also own your dress jersey design company.
Yeah.
Has that all come to a halt?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely impacted, things professionally on the real estate side, with Royal LePage Team. I've been in that business almost 11 years, and we've never really seen anything like this. No one has.
Yeah.
And our company and has really done such a great job of trying to figure out how we can adjust to this, giving us alternative platforms to handle things virtually and safely. We were in a crazy market, multiple offers, thousands over asking, craziness for months,
Yeah.
and it's still in demand, but obviously things have taken a hard shift left with, trying to be responsible and social distancing and all that. So we've implemented virtual open houses, Matterport, 3D tours, things like that. But it's impacted it,
Yeah.
scenes are not happening. They're slowing down. Banks are not able to fund things right away. Big adjustments to not only protect them financially, but is it a good time to list? Are we doing the responsible things? So it's affected, things professionally for sure and slowed it down. But at the same time, Ottawa's a pretty reliable market, so it's
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, we've actually we always look. Monica and I are just those type of people. Even if we're not going
Yes.
to move, we're always looking. And we've seen houses go on the market and then come off the market because of the pandemic. Is
Yes.
that something that you've seen with clients?
Yeah, we actually almost did that with one of my clients where we listed and we targeted sales on a certain time and day and that we were going to accept offers and the offers didn't come like they had been. And now we're listed at a price lower. So let's give it another week or two and then we're going to pull it off if we're not going to get what we feel might be fair market value. We know it'll be less than the craziness before. So yeah, your strategy have to change as you're adapting to things that change on a daily basis dealing with COVID and all the setbacks. But for the most part, everyone's being really understanding, patient. Everyone's in this, as we say, it's cliche, but we're in this together. They're all adjusting. And I love that you just said that, you, Monica, because I know so many people are professional realtor.caers. You're literally looking all the time.
It's true because you never know if a gem comes up, and Monica and I, and in particular Monica, like
Yeah.
she loves DIY. She loves to renovate.
God,
She's an
yeah.
architectural engineer by education, so
Yeah.
she likes to find these gems and then work on them.
I
And
love
we're
that.
in. Yeah, we're in a newer development, so I think she's missing a little bit of that. There's nothing left to
Yes.
do. Let's move
Yes.
on. Let's
It's so
find something else.
creative. It's so creative. And that's the beauty about our home here. We've actually done that. The floors my dad put in almost 20 years ago, we sanded them and restained them a barn-born gray, but they're the maple hardwood that my
Nice.
father put in. So there's history and then it's nicer, it's cooler, right? There's an authenticity with that vintage renovation. Oh my God, we can go on that for hours. We got to call
Absolutely.
Brian Bobner.
Well, I know you're a sports fan, so I have to ask you this. Are you missing
Yes.
your Ottawa Senators?
Yes, I mean, God, hockey and especially football or Ottawa Red Blacks, the season's pushed back,
Yeah.
the skills event. My husband and I also coach, touch football with the CAFA. My father's touch football league, the Ottawa Nepean touch football league is all on hold. All the fields are closed. It's completely shut our sports world down and tapping into the Laverty Designs jersey dresses that we do.
Yeah.
It's all come to a halt, you
Yeah,
know?
and I'm a big sports fan too. I love,
Yes, you are.
NHL hockey. I love the
Totally.
CFL. I'm also an NFL fan. So for
Yeah,
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, my poor family had to deal with me watching
the draft.
rounds 1 to 7 of the NFL draft.
I love that seeing people sit on their couches. One guy was in his pajamas. The other mother pulls a girlfriend out of the way to celebrate. There's so many great things you saw in the NFL draft, eh? But I think they're doing a great job to implement a lot of that stuff online where
Yeah.
we still feel we're part of it. But you're right, it's just not the same. And we realize how much we love doing that.
It's
Attention.
interesting. I think they may take different aspects of the draft as we saw it over the weekend, because I think, as you said, it was like you were spying on these coaches and general managers in their homes. It was kind of cool.
Yeah. Was the one coach for Tampa where Brady's going to? He was sitting in this beautiful mansion overlooking the water, and then they cut to Bill Belichick, and he's just in a 1970s old dining table, not
Yes.
giving a crap. I'm like, yeah.
You see that old table? Like, I was like, where are you? You stuck in the 70s. And then his dog was sitting at the laptop making picks for him. It was hilarious.
I love that about him, though. He's just down to earth. He is who he is. Brett Favre next to my dad was my favorite quarterback, and just true, authentic grit. I don't care what you think, I am who I am. And so, yeah, some really neat changes that people have been adapting to. But, the sports world as we know it, going to the games as much as we're both big sports fans and not being able to even play, wow, it's a big part of our lives that's sort of ripped out of
Yeah. And,
our.
going through, COVID-19 and a pandemic like this, wouldn't it be, great to have sports, right? Just to, have that distraction for everybody. Unfortunately, we just can't do it until, the right things are in place and, everybody makes the right decision that, everybody's safe on every single level.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be so hard to determine. We've been talking with the city of Ottawa, with the fields and our football league, and on a personal level from our standpoint. And like how do you do that? A quarterback, what does he do? He licks his fingers before he throws the ball. You're in contact. Us coaching and kids, like you interact. So there's no way to do that safely right away. So I really don't know what that answer will be. I think it's going to take quite some time before we're able to do those interactive sports. And that's
Well, we're talking football, and I see the football behind you, and of course this great sketch of your
yes.
dad behind you there.
Yes.
Yeah, just
Isn't that
what
nice?
a great guy. So tell everybody about your dad, Ed Laverty, if they're not familiar with him.
My goodness, where do I start? my hero, my everything, but my dad, he pioneered the Ottawa Nepean Touch Football League to its 50th year. So he kind of wrote the rule book for touch football for women, and grew it, I think, from 40 teams to 100 players to over 50 or 100 teams and 1,100 players. I don't even know what the numbers are. And it's now in its 57th year, where my brother's been running it under his direction, taking the lead on some very big cleats to fill. And he was inducted in the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame, and they just named the Hunt Club Park fields after him. So they're now officially the Ed Laverty Fields.
Nice.
Just a great guy who just loved life, loved people, loved sports. Ran this league and gave back, in a day where we didn't have a lot of social media or even cell phones. He would have managers meetings, at the fields to try and implement all this stuff. And he just did so many great things for so many people. And after a 6-year battle, we lost him in 2017 to Alzheimer's. And, just the complications of that over time, your body stops absorbing nutrients, and it completely changes your life, your perspective. Yeah. A piece of your heart's ripped out, and it'll never be back. And you have to look at life in a different way. And it's tough, when you deal with sad things like a loss of someone that, important to you, like a family member would be to anybody. It's very difficult, but you find new ways to channel the grief into something good. And that's when I started the non-for-profit in my father's memory called the Ed Laverty Legacy Sports Fund, and the proceeds go to kids who can't afford to play sports. So nice. We try to do a little part, and the first we had last year, and you were going to be part of the skills event, we had to postpone in April, right?
I know. What a bummer.
Yes, and so many great people are all involved. That with Catherine Dines and just kids, different skill stations where Ottawa Red Blacks came in to guest coach, and Ken Rivera's a big part of that, and Rob Webb, so many other great people where we teach kids the skills for football, and they all had my dad's image on their T-shirts. And I was just,
that's fantastic.
I'd walk away and cry each time because I'm like, oh my God. And my dad would just hate it. He goes, oh, this is ridiculous, So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and your dad, not only, a great guy, but a great athlete, great quarterback.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Man, I remember watching some of the footage of him. He was amazing.
He created the overload offense where they would run and move and there was emotion. He would call an audible in the play while the ball was being hut. He could read the defense so well that he would change the audible right in the moment. Like, he was just, for me, it was normal growing up. When you look back at the film, you're like, oh, that's pretty friggin' awesome. My dad's, a pretty badass QB. So
yeah, my dad was a great football player too. He was so desperate. He wanted to be a quarterback in high school, but they said he was too small, too short, so they didn't let him play quarterback, which is a shame because my dad had an amazing arm. He would have been an incredible quarterback, but he played running back, fullback, and cornerback, and that's back in the days. Your dad and my dad back in the day when you would play both offense and defense, even in tackle football.
Oh man!
Right?
Yeah, I bet you they would have played so well together because my dad was like 5'5" and change, as James Duthie called him so eloquently, and it was perfect. And he said, he would just run that offense and just kill you every time. So I would have loved to have seen your dad you play too. It's probably a big reason why we love sports so much because that's how we were raised.
Oh, he taught me how to play football. I remember I was quarterback for Ashbury College. I went to Ashbury for 2 years. And my dad...
I know that. I love it.
Yeah. My dad would practice with me, and we'd play this. We'd have this contest where we would start 20 yards apart, and we would throw the football as hard as we can at each other. And you weren't allowed to catch it, with your chest, your stomach. You couldn't let it come to your body. You had to catch it with your hands. And after each throw, we'd take a step towards each other. So we would literally get like 3 yards from each other and be whipping the ball. So I never won. He was so good.
Yeah.
I never won once, but I remember that's how I learned to catch the ball with my hands because my dad always said, you don't let it come into your body because it'll bounce off your body. Catch it with your hands and then bring it into your body is one of my great memories with my dad.
Oh, I love that. There's different ways that they teach you, and it's the old school way that actually sets in and you never forget, right? Because I grew up the same way, and you know what? There's no greater way to grow up where you throw the football in the street and you learn the ins and outs of the game. And so I think, it's a big part of our childhood, and it's so important to still implement today, like have kids still connect
Yeah.
when it's safe to do so once we get on the other side of this. The coaching and the implementation of the things that we grew up with, learning sports, loving sports, that camaraderie that being part of a team can build, and you learn to rely on each other and learn skills. I don't know, I've applied it to my life and personally, professionally. You have to have that mindset and do the hard work, right? And no
Yeah.
shortcut.
Well,
And
working, as you said, we've always encouraged our kids to get into team sports, because team sports isn't just about learning the athletic side of things, right? It's
yes,
overcoming because you know what? You're not going to get along with everybody, but sports, it's amazing when you start working together, maybe a personality that you would
yeah,
never think you would,
no,
be friends with, and all of a sudden, you're beside each other on the field or on the ice, right? Or on the court,
yeah.
and that bond is incredibly special.
It's so special, and you learn fundamental values you would have never learned before. I learned it when I first started coaching last year in the CAFA with Rodney Morris, who quarterbacked, still quarterbacks in my father's league and quarterbacked my dad. I had to learn how to coach and how to listen and how to adjust to different personalities. I didn't really know that well how to teach the game of football. I
Right.
grew up in it, but learning it and knowing it, but teaching are two different things. And it's so empowering for us and for me. I just learned so many values, and those kids brought me so much joy, just like my dad did teaching me. And I roll that on to real estate, where not every personality is going to, adapt to mine. I am
Right.
full course ahead, but me, go, go, go. And some
Oh
people,
yeah.
whoa, chill out, and so you have to learn to adjust to different personalities, professionally, personally, sports, work. And I've learned a lot. So I totally agree with that. And I hope that kids can learn from us too, because it's so important today.
Yeah, agreed. So, because we're on the topic of sports, I want to talk
Yes.
about, how did you eventually start singing the national anthem
Yeah.
at huge sporting events? Like, we're talking CFL, NHL here. Like, how did that come about?
You know, I'll say this with all entire honesty. Before I left and moved to California in 2009, I never knew I could sing a lick. I never
Really?
sang anything before I moved away. Yes.
Okay.
And then I was in a musical in LA, and I was just doing backup dancing in the musical and a little bit of acting. And the vocal coach said to me, I think you have something there. I'm like, me? And I worked with her for a couple of months. And then, I'm loud and whatever. So she's like, just let her out. So I'm like, okay. And then I just started to take vocal training with her. And then I love sports. One guy said to me, and I was part of a group in LA called Canadians Abroad, where Canadians would get together at different events like hockey games, whenever the Canadian teams would
Oh,
come in, the
cool.
Consul General of Canada. Yeah. One guy who used to play in the CFL owned a place in Redondo Beach. We'd go there for Grey Cup. He'd have poutine and smoked meat. And yeah, so I met a guy there who was the entertainment director for the Long Beach Ice Dogs, and they're the farm
Okay.
team for the Montreal Canadiens in Long Beach, California. I auditioned for him. I got it. I sang the anthem. I was terrified. I have the old somewhere. Derick, my knee was like this the entire time, like I kind of duck on something. I was just like so scared. And then I auditioned. Then somebody knew me. I met somebody at another event, and they worked for the LA Kings. He said, "Why don't you
Okay.
come to Staples Center and come audition?" I'm like, "Me?" And I stand in the middle of the Staples Center with two people at the back of the arena, and I
Okay.
sang it, and I got it, and I don't even know how.
Wow.
And it just took off from there. And then I just
Yeah.
started marketing packages together of my videos and my, photos, as we've learned in marketing to put a package together and market yourself. And you're in Los Angeles, so there's so many people around there who can teach you. And I started submitting packages to Oakland Athletics and the LA Dodgers. And I had to follow up with the lady of the Dodgers like 18 times. I'm like, oh, I'm not enough. So you say yes.
You're persistent.
Yes, yes. And I finally got that. And so it just kind of picked up. And then I moved back to Ottawa and, did the same thing with the Senators, finally got that. And then wore a dress one time because everyone was used to Lyndon Slewage in the beautiful RCMP
Yeah.
outfit, which is great. But I was like, let's switch this up a little bit. And then boom, that was so, it's really snowballed into something really incredible. I just love to do it. I love sports. And I think my greatest memory is when the Red Blacks honored my father on the field with Stephen Dean, and just, acknowledge everything that he did. And I got to sing the anthem after that. And my dad's on the field watching me sing.
I remember the lead up to that, you talking about it, just with such incredible emotion, how special that was for you.
Really special. Like, I so appreciated it in the moment. And I think before, when you're doing anthems and stuff, you're more about, oh, look at this opportunity, I get to do this. And you're just sort of caught up in the whole thing, and maybe I was a little more on my own path and tunnel vision with that, even though you're chasing your dreams. But when I came back and I had to eat humble pie to move back in with my parents at 40 years old and start my life over, those moments take on a whole new meaning. And having my there and singing "O Canada" in front of my peers for the football game, with a game I love and I was raised in, I can't even tell you the emotions. I don't even know how I got through it, but it's amazing. So those moments are really special, and I hang on to them. So the anthems and everything that surrounds it now have a whole different meaning, and I don't do them as much unless it has, special meaning, because it has to.
So take me back. You mentioned you came back to start your life over from California to Ottawa. What were those circumstances?
It was just sort of something that came as a calling. When I moved to California, I was working for Canada Post for 5 or 6 years. They were offering a buyout, so giving you a year's salary to leave. So I was like,
see ya.
I'm out. Later. And I was cheerleading for the Ottawa Rough Riders. So I did that for 7 years. I loved it. And but that folded, right? The team folded in 96. So that ended. And it was just everything that I was involved in Ottawa had come to a halt. And I was either going to restart new things or try it. So I took some money, met a friend through a phone, a girlfriend who referred me, and moved in with her and moved to Los Angeles all by myself. And it was crazy.
Wow.
I know.
Was your intention to pursue an acting career? What was your intention?
I was more into like the performing arts, and I wasn't sure if it was acting, but I knew I was in dance, and I just wanted to go and give it a try. And I only went for 3 months initially. I think it was in September or so. And then I came back for Christmas, and then I was terribly lonely up to Christmas. And then when I came back and spent time with my family, I felt like my batteries were recharged. And then I went back, and I ended up getting a working visa, a company that sponsored me. And I worked, for many years. But yeah, I was in the entertainment industry. My first job was at the Coconut Club with Merv Griffin.
The Coconut Club. I love it. Merv Griffin? That's amazing.
At the Beverly Hilton Hotel, there was an ad in the paper looking for hostesses at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. I'm like, oh my God. And he changed the grand ballroom reminiscent of the Coconut Grove back in the days. And it was golden palm trees with like monkeys and coconuts and white plush velvet. I can't even tell you how crazy this was.
It's amazing.
And I got the job. You know me. I was like, I had to go for like 18 interviews. And then I finally got to meet Merv Griffin. And I'm like, you have to pick me, Merv. I'm going to be your cheerleader. I'm from Canada. Let's do this. I love this. And he was like, you got to take her in. I'm like, so I got the job as hostess.
That's awesome.
And
so you already had experience when we hosted together on Daytime. That was a lot of fun.
That was so much fun. Yeah, I had never really co-hosted before, but you know what? You make it so easy. You're such a pro that you just carry it. You do. You have great conversation. You're so authentic, and you're just so fun to be around. And I've always been your fan, number one, from, professional standpoint, but also personally. I just think of the world of you and Mon. But I guess I learned so much from my years cheerleading, where under Ann Holtz, where she taught us so much about, promotions and performance and, all the things that you need to do to be a performer. And then I carried that, and then living in Los Angeles on my own for 10 years, you grow up in every sense of the word, and you're in the mecca of entertainment. So I learned tons. I dance videos. I was on, movie sets. I did extra work. I was on Gilmore Girls, little small things, nothing major, but, it's about that. It's just more about the journey of learning to grow as a person and performer. And so you can tie that all into co-hosting with the famous Derick Phage or play real estate and national anthems and running a non-for-profit for my dad and all the things that you want to do that matter to you. You bring all those experiences to the table with these different things that now have more meaning, right?
Well, I can tell you, Tammy, and I'll tell our viewers that, I mean, you're just a special person. Your energy level is just off the charts. You know, it's very rare that I meet people that have the, more energy than me.
Yeah,
and
that's why we get along so well.
Man, oh man, when I met you, I was like, okay, this is a friend for life. That's for sure.
It's so true. And I love meeting people like you that, come across your path, that you get to connect on different levels. And it's just so special, And when I moved back to Ottawa, that last year in California, I remember there was this restlessness that I had. I was just not happy doing the things I was doing there. I had a great job I loved. I was living in a condo in Pasadena, and but I guess when you really miss your roots and you're family oriented like we are, it just ran its course. And I was like, I'm ready to get back and build my life, build some roots, spend time with my mom and dad. I love my family. And I just felt like I couldn't do that anymore there. Yeah. And my dad flew to California. I had to resign from a job I loved. Like, it was a very difficult decision. And moving back in with your parents at 40 in the middle of winter, I mean, holy God, talk about yeah. What did I do? It was hard. It was hard, but I grew up and I had 8 special years with my dad, not knowing, what obstacles and difficulties we would overcome and have to deal with. But, you have to be brave enough to make those decisions to move away and move home and make those changes, because great people will come into your life. And so I was raised by 2 great parents. My dad is my hero. And if I can, follow in his footsteps and make him proud the way he, did for me, then I'm doing something right, and having you in life just is the icing on the cake.
Listen, Tammy, you have made your dad proud. You have. He was incredibly proud of you. You're an amazing person. Your parents did a great job. There's no doubt about that. Hey, if people want to connect with you personally, professionally, what's the best way?
I am on all social media platforms, but I love Instagram, so I'm on there. So at Tammy Laverty, and then there's Laverty Designs, and then there's an Ed Laverty Legacy one if you want to follow my dad's non-for-profit for a good cause, Excellent. And obviously we're all on Facebook, and I think it's just a great way to stay connected with people, especially during times like this. It's important to talk to each other, stay connected, reach out to your elders, see if anybody needs anything. So yeah, they can reach me on all those platforms.
Well, I want to encourage everyone too, this is going to be posted on social media. So if you have any comments for Tammy and I after watching the interview, please put them in the comments below and let us know what you think. Tammy, thanks so much for joining me on Let's Chat with Derick.
Thank you for having me, Derick.
All right, you guys
sing the national anthem together. How about that?
Oh my goodness! No one wants to hear me sing. I guarantee you.
How about we go out on the way out? I'll do a little intro.
Okay.
Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Love you,
See,
Dean.
I can't keep up with that. Well done. Tammy Laverty Hall, everybody. Thanks for joining me, Tammy.
Love
Take
you,
care.
Dean.
Love you too.